You have said that this budget deal, quote, advances our principles. Marco Rubio said this, though, last night, quote, that your deal is going to make it harder for Americans to achieve the American dream. What would you say to Marco?
Read the deal and get back to me. Look, that's just, I think that's, people are going to do what they need to do. In the minority, you don't have the burden of governing, of getting things done. Look, Joe, you're a Republican. Here's what this does. It reduces the deficit without raising taxes, the military from getting deeply cut again, and we prevent 2 government shutdowns from occurring this year. I think that's in the interest of our country. I think that advances our principles. Patty and I decided if we require the other person to compromise a core principle, we'll get nothing done, so look for common ground. And that's what we're doing. We found common ground. We know this is a modest agreement, but in this day and age with this completely broken, dysfunctional government, it's a pretty good step in the right direction as far as we're concerned.
So are you going to be able to convince members of the House Republican caucus that you can bust the caps by $63 billion? And are you assuring them that that $63 billion really will be made up for in the out years? Because you and I both know we've always been deeply skeptical, Paul, and I know you know this. We've been deeply skeptical when you say we're going to spend more money in the first 2 years, 3 years, but don't worry, we'll make it up 8, 9, 10 years later.
Joe, 92% of the sequester is left intact. During the course of this agreement, a year and a half, fiscal year-wise, we got the Democrats, who are against any of the sequester, to agree to 70% of the sequester, and the 30% of relief we're providing, $63 billion, we're paying for with $85 billion of mandatory savings. And Joe, as you know, that's the autopilot spending that's going on, and these are permanent law changes that we're affecting, which gives us real savings that compound in the out years. Yeah. The other thing is we're stopping these government shutdowns, and we don't think having 2 government shutdowns over the course of the next year is in anybody's interest. Yeah, we'd like to focus our oversight on Obamacare, rolling out a positive agenda, and not having these shutdowns. And the other point, Joe, is 2 years ago, the budget I passed, the Republican budget that everybody thought was too conservative, fought for $1.019 billion in top-line spending. Under this agreement, we won't hit that level until the year 2017.
All right.
So we're ahead of schedule, and we're saying cut more than you spend.
So, Paul, we have 87 people around the table, and they all want to get questions in, but I think I'm just going to ask you the questions. Does it tick you off when people that haven't read the budget say that it's going to destroy the American dream?
I thought it was a little strange because the press releases came flying out against the agreement before Patty and I actually even reached an agreement. So, you know, it is what it is. This is Washington. I would prefer that people would actually read what we're doing and see the details before forming conclusions, but I'm a big boy. I've been around for a while. That doesn't really necessarily surprise me.
Well, I'm curious, just on a different angle on that, because the criticism that Marco Rubio put forward, as well as some other top Senate Republicans, your answer to Joe's questions was people are going to do what they have to do. What do you mean by that?
Well, I just say if you're in the minority, you don't have to pass things. You don't have to govern. We are in the majority here in the House. We're 1/3 of the so-called power structure here in Washington. And we think it would be a bad idea to have 2 government shutdown scenarios in 2014. We think that will take us off of focusing on Obamacare, focusing on our oversight, rolling out a positive agenda to grow the economy and create jobs. More to the point, you're not going to get everything you want in divided government. Our budget is what we want. Our budget balances the budget, pays off the debt, and does so within a decade, and that's what we want. This isn't our budget. This is a modest step in the right direction that says more deficit reduction, less military cuts, and no tax increases. That, to me, advances our principles. Here's the other